Boruto has finally used the karma again, but his life is at great risk. As in today's video, we're going to be discussing everything regarding Boruto's new reawakening of the karma. And if my videos in the past didn't concern you when it comes to Boruto's personal identity and future in the story, this one should, as the side text that is revealed when it comes to Boruto and all the foreshadowing that we have seen regarding him and Momoshiki, everything is about to come to fruition as we are reaching the climax of Boruto and Momoshiki's actual relationship. As we do see in these upcoming leaks that we personally have of Boruto using the karma, we see him using the karma, being pushed to the point of using the karma after going on and fighting with Momoshiki. Momoshiki was first caught off guard, but due to the amount of clones that were at his vicinity, we do see that Boruto is almost bullied. He is caught off guard, and when they end up using a ninjutsu, one of the clones, Boruto is finally forced to use the karma as he absorbs that ability. And he says, "I can't get used to it, this itchy, irritating feeling you get when absorbing chakra." But the part that truly scares me is this right here, as this is what we get as a final note for this chapter. The power you have gained is a double-edged sword. Give up everything, devote your life, and burn up your very soul to defeat the divine trees. And this is referring to Boruto using the karma. And this is most likely confirming everything that we have been currently discussing about Boruto and him using the karma in this upcoming arc. To be honest, I really didn't expect it in this chapter. I thought it would happen a little later on, but it happening right now is key. Not only in telling us just how strong Momoshiki is as an opponent, as no other Senju but Jura has really pushed Boruto to the point where we could really see him using the karma if he had that as a possibility. And that person was only Momoshiki, Hidari, who we probably thought was stronger than Momoshiki. But now with what we learned with Momoshiki, Boruto was essentially forced to use the karma versus such a foe, just boosting Momoshiki's strength. But with this piece of information that we have of Boruto almost burning through everything, his entire essence, Boruto himself, his soul, everything he is doing right now is critical. And now I truly believe we can put the pieces together. And to do that, before we discuss even the abilities that Boruto may get from this basic new awakening of the karma, we have to start off by looking at what we see from Momoshiki and Boruto's deal. Momoshiki's first ever chapter cover for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex had something that was quite interesting attached to it, and this was a subtext that was referring to a specific poem, and the subtext was a thread from the depths of hell. And this is clearly inspired by the spider's thread, which is essentially a story of a sinner who is in hell, being offered a single spider thread to climb out. But once the sinner ends up climbing onto the thread, more and more of the other sinners climb onto it. And then he decides to tell the other ones to jump off, and when they jump off, the thread ends up breaking. This is very important that we see this being mentioned when we do come to see that Boruto's deal with Momoshiki has come to be. And a lot of people have the simple opinion that this is referring to Momoshiki, the fact that Boruto is offering Momoshiki this thread, and Momoshiki could take this thread and slowly climb onto it, work with Boruto, and when Momoshiki, who is ultimately going to be selfish, he is going to end up trying to obtain Boruto's body for his own, and then it's going to end up backfiring due to the thread ended up breaking, the deal that Boruto will end up misrepresenting to ultimately trick Momoshiki. This is an interpretation that a lot of people have, but my interpretation is a lot different. To me, the thread actually symbolizes not Boruto or Momoshiki, but the deal itself. If that deal fails, then the thread is going to collapse, where we end up seeing Boruto truly fall in the depths of hell. And Boruto's deal with Momoshiki is basically grabbing onto that fragile thread. The deal between Momoshiki and Boruto is one that is ultimately fragile, due to the situation that Boruto is actually in being quite different to anything that has happened in the past. And what I truly believe that we're going to start seeing with Boruto is a loss of his identity. just like it is being described in the side text panel that we do end up having, as it is clearly saying right here that Boruto is giving up something. The fact of Boruto using the karma, he is giving up everything, his devoted life, and he is burning his very soul to defeat the divine trees, which is ultimately referring to the Senju. This reminds me a lot of what we ended up seeing Kawaki say to Boruto in the anime, where he asked Boruto what exactly is everything to Boruto, where Boruto didn't really respond, but Kawaki asked, is it your position in the leaf? Is it your status in the leaf? Is it your home? Is it your family? Kawaki asks all those questions. When Boruto actually ends up losing everything, the first thing that Boruto says is that he didn't actually lose everything, as he still has his Uzumaki DNA, the fact that he is the son of Naruto, the 7th Hokage, and the son of Hinata, who is a Hyuga. That is what is everything to Boruto. So when we see the difference between what Kawaki believed to be everything for Boruto and what Boruto believes to be everything for himself, Boruto is making a clear distinction to his own personal identity, what makes Boruto Boruto. And these are all these genetics factors, his influences, his mother and his father. That is what makes him him. And when we see that Boruto is now about to lose everything, and we mentioned his soul, I believe that this is a clear distinction that Boruto is about to lose what he deems to be everything, and that is his identity. With what is going to take place, it is a ticking time bomb. I don't know how long Boruto is going to be able to use the karma, but him using the karma is ultimately something that is beginning this burn up of his soul, where slowly and slowly, the more he uses the karma, we are shaving at Boruto's identity. And just like I've been mentioning for quite a while, we're ultimately going to see the assimilation of Momoshiki and Boruto's identity, where Boruto loses everything, his identity, and it merges along with that of Momoshiki, as this was a process that has begun since chapter 75, where we saw their minds slowly starts to merge. And this is what we're going to be seeing continue from then on, where just like in the past, Boruto was using the karma more and more, and now he has finally started that activation after years of not using the karma, after years of not absorbing ninjutsu using his own karma abilities. Now we're going to see the completion of Boruto's merger with Momoshiki come to be in these next few arcs. So I wouldn't be surprised if we slowly start to see Momoshiki actually make appearances, unless he decides not to say anything at all. But due to this taking place, I believe that this is finally the moment in which we're going to be seeing Boruto finally use some of Momoshiki's abilities. Due to the simple fact that their identities are slowly going to merge, we are going to be seeing Boruto tap into said abilities. Where, I don't know, the first thing I really think about is Boruto using the Byakugan. Is this going to be something that Boruto will use? As we do see that Boruto, he does have his eye scarred, and whenever Boruto is in control, even with the karma, it seems like as right now his eye isn't open. But when it comes to Boruto personally, when he is using the karma, he doesn't actually end up utilizing that eye. But when Momoshiki is using the karma, he ends up using the Byakugan, and we can see this clear distinction when we see that in chapter 78. However, prior to that, when Boruto was tapping into True Essence Karma, we saw that Boruto was essentially able to use the Byakugan too. Right now, Boruto is not tapping into True Essence Karma. We don't see that same karma pattern that we saw before. Here's a side by side of when Boruto is actually using True Essence Karma and when Boruto is not. But seeing those differences, it makes a lot of sense. Boruto is just using the karma. We can probably see later in this battle when Boruto starts to get even more used to the karma that he ultimately ends up tapping into True Essence Karma at that point, which is maybe when we're finally going to see Boruto use use the Byakugan potentially in that one eye, or maybe it's going to be reserved to Momoshiki, who ultimately he is the only one capable of using the Byakugan. Could be something that is potentially explored, but due to this whole idea of them coming to become one, I do believe that Boruto, even though in the past he doesn't usually use his eye like that, I do believe that when using the karma, when using Chosen's karma, he is capable of using the Byakugan. Another thing we're clearly going to be seeing is something similar that we have seen with Kawaki, where a big portion of this chapter dealt with Boruto gaining his sword back, and the fact that he can use his chakra to amplify his sword. I don't know exactly what that special material that Sumire was referencing was exactly, but what I do know is that Boruto is going to be able to infuse his karma powers, his chakra from the karma, and he's going to be able to infuse that into his sword, increasing its destructive capability, its sharpness, and exactly what it ends up serving as a purpose for Boruto, where he's going to be exponentially stronger, not only due to the fact that he's increasing his speed as we have seen from the karma, but also due to the fact that he's pouring in that chakra into his blade. Now, a lot of people would like Boruto to use things like summonings, various cool abilities that Momoshiki possessed, but I personally think he won't be able to do so, as we know that he won't be trying to destroy the village, as bringing up a summoning jutsu with Momoshiki, who isn't even trying to destroy the village either, bringing up a summoning jutsu would be counter to that. But what I'd be quite interesting to see take place, especially for Boruto, would be either him tapping into Momoshiki's ability to see the future and almost having his own way of seeing the future, where maybe he no longer relies on Kashin Koji, which would be something that is quite interesting, as clearly their ideas do not necessarily intermingle, or we end up seeing Boruto use that time-stopping ability. And this is going to be quite key, as I believe that that is Momoshiki's Senjutsu, not the ability to see the future, but the ability to stop time. We could learn exactly what Boruto is capable of doing when time is stopped. Is he capable of harming his opponents, or does it only serve as something futile, where Momoshiki was able to install his karma onto somebody else, or Boruto is not really able to do much? But the one thing I truly want to see is slow iterations where we see Boruto's personality be really similar to that of Momoshiki's, maybe a little bit more bloodthirsty, a little bit more focused when it comes to that kill, or a little bit more cocky, as we have seen Boruto showcase at times in the story. I want there to be instances that truly foreshadow this fact of the merger, not just through the side text, but through Boruto's own personal and individual actions that he ends up taking. And does he end up using Chosen's karma is going to be something that will play a pivotal role, or is this something that is going to be saved for Jura? In my own personal thoughts, I do believe that we're going to see Boruto use Chosen's karma at some point during this fight, in this arc. But when it comes to Momoshiki himself coming out, I think that Momoshiki will eventually come out when he is tasked to fight versus Jura himself. So for right now, Boruto is the one who's going to be taking on that mantle. But my personal interpretation on Boruto's plan is that he is well aware of this going on. He is well aware that it will ultimately end in him becoming Momoshiki, or them becoming this separate identity. And this is why he has Kawaki there. The reason why he told Kawaki that at the end of this all, if he is to turn into Momoshiki and go out of control, Kawaki is the one who is supposed to kill him. And that's exactly why Kawaki really agreed to this whole idea of them working together. Not only to defeat Jura, but also defeating Jura would mean that Boruto ends up sacrificing his own life for the betterment of Kawaki's plan and the world exactly, where there will no longer be any Otsutsuki's. But in the future scene, we see that Boruto is still there. So what has changed? What has allowed Boruto to come back? And to figure out how, you have to watch this video right here, where I discuss the role of the Jogan.